Hello everyone, and once again we have a reflection from the Manse. As you know, we've been going through Psalm 8 these last few days. Let me continue with that psalm by reading the following verses. When I look at the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars set in place by you, what are humans that you should remember them? Mortals that you should care for them. Now we've noticed that the psalmist begins the psalm in worship, and then there was that change of tack where his perspective went down to what was going on in ancient Israel with the struggles and the enemies all around them. And once again, at a change, he looks back up to the heavens, and this time he's looking at the heavens not to worship God, but he's looking at the heavens in relation to human beings, and he's drawing a contrast that the vastness of the starry sky makes us look so small and insignificant. I'm sure many of us have had that kind of experience looking at the starry sky. We can also get it looking at the vastness of the ocean, particularly if we're in a small boat, or looking at the huge size of the mountains that we are perhaps about to climb and feeling very small and insignificant. Of course, for the psalmist, he's asking this question already within a framework of faith, because he's professing that this world is a creation, that there is a God, and of course, therefore, human beings matter and have purpose. But it's a necessary question for us to raise, and that's why he raises it. What are humans in comparison to everything around us? It's quite common within the world of science, or certainly when it's science weaponized by atheists, to use the vastness of astronomy and indeed geology to make the whole issue of human beings being important seem ridiculous, and therefore also undermine the idea that God cares for us. So this is actually a live question, believe it or not. Although this psalmist wasn't writing with that in mind, this is something that's bang up to date. I have a book in my study called A Pale Blue Dot by the late great astronomer Carl Sagan, who obviously was an atheist. And again, it's this idea of stressing the vastness of the universe, and there's that iconic photo in it of a huge dark background and a tiny pale blue dot, which is the planet Earth. And of course, the idea is to emphasize just how insignificant our planet is. We think we're at the center of things, but we're just a tiny speck in this huge universe. But then it depends on perspective, doesn't it? Are we going to emphasize the background, or are we going to emphasize the pale blue dot? It's the same with geology. Often atheists will say, well, look at the history of life on Earth. Humans have arrived just recently. In the great scheme of things, we're just, newcomers. We're not that important in the time scale. But again, what are we measuring here? What are we focusing on? The background or the foreground? So it's about perspective. And the bottom line is this. Something can be precious, really precious, because it's rare. So if planet Earth is the only place in the universe that has life, that makes it even more special. But what Christian would have a problem with there being life in other galaxies? Because God is an amazing creator. But even if that's not the case, it doesn't in any way relativize how important this wonderful little planet is, and indeed, regarding the history of life on Earth, how important human beings are. And of course, the psalmist goes on to talk about God remembering us. And that Hebrew word refers to being mindful, of paying attention to us. And it talks about God caring for us. Again, the Hebrew word there relates to visit, a visitation that is helpful. Now, we've been living with this pandemic, and we will all know stories from our own family group and indeed from the village or the town that we live in, where neighbours have been so helpful, they're mindful of their neighbour, they'll maybe contact them on the phone or indeed through online, and so many things that are happening that shows the good part of human beings. And in a sense, when we are mindful of others, we are imitating the God who's mindful of us. And that, of course, is what he wants us to do. So the negative question, or the negative statement, what are humans that God remembers them? What are mere mortals that he cares for them? Well, the answer is, well, they are special. And of course, the psalmist isn't finished. He's going to go on, as we'll see tomorrow, to show just how important the human race is to God. But I want to end with a little quote from the amazing poem Desiderata, that you're a child of the universe. You have a right to be here no less than the trees and the stars. And I would want to tweak that, and in line with the psalmist say, you're a child of God. You have a right to be here no less than the trees, than the stars. In fact, you are more important than the trees and the stars. God holds you and myself in the palm of his hand. He is mindful of us and he loves us. May that God continue to bless us, lead us and deliver us in the days that lie ahead. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you tomorrow. God bless you all.